Hello, hello! My name is Callista, and welcome back to When the Night Comes. In the last episode, Camille told Harry that she had been in contact with James's ghost. He seemed very intrigued by this, however, then his entire demeanour kind of shifted. Camille got the feeling that she had somehow disappointed him. It was all very odd, and I believe that Camille is heading back to the Wolf for a rest now. Snow is still falling as I step outside. Though the hour is late, there's certainly no peaceful quiet in Lunaris tonight. The streets outside of headquarters are bustling with hunters, enforcers, and everything in between. I keep my head down as I make my way towards the Wolf. I fall into a trance as I replay my conversation with Harry over and over, trying to pinpoint the exact moment that made him change his attitude so drastically. It really was very weird. If I'm remembering it correctly, it has been a couple of days since I last recorded When the Night Comes. We told him about James, everything was fine. He asked us about the Woodridge twins. And that was when he became disappointed. He asked us what we had found out, and we basically said we didn't find anything. We want to speak to the brother because he could know more than he's letting on, and we found a parcel addressed to him in a demonic language. And that was when Harry kind of changed. Like I said, it was really weird. I'm snapped back to reality when I bump into something cold and hard, finding a pair of familiar golden eyes staring back at me when I look up.
Distracted, are we?
Oh, Finn, I'm always distracted when you're nearby. That is a fact. I step back, brushing down the front of my coat. I can see that his lips are on the cusp of curling to the side in a vaguely amused smirk. You could say that. It's been a long night. He offers me a sympathetic look, shoving his hands firmly into his coat pockets as a duo of enforcers passes by. They make a point to glare at him and, by proxy, at me for being near him. Finn dutifully avoids their gazes, like a man who has had centuries to perfect feigning indifference to the way people like me treat him and his kind. I'm glad to see you're safe, Camille. We were all worried for you when we heard. Thank you, Finn. He turns to check that the street is clear, turning back to me with a serious look. I have my clan patrolling the woods. I'll ensure they're out until dawn searching if necessary. Anything we can do to help find whatever, or whoever, is doing this. I'm grateful for the assistance, and I certainly can't say I've ever had an entire clan of vampires as allies before. I'm optimistic that their help will be of great value to me. That's very kind. After an indecipherable pause, Finn's expression drifts somewhere far away. You know, I was out there just now. I picked up a scent. Something familiar. Ooh. That's interesting. Because if you remember, Finn was with us at the graveyard, and he found, I think it was a rock with blood on it, and he sniffed it and he said it was something completely foreign to him, something he hadn't smelled in his, many centuries of existence, something new. So now he's saying he's found something familiar. Okay. Familiar how? He steps closer, and there's a certain air of caution in the way he addresses me, as if he's unsure that we're truly alone. I didn't get to hang around. There were too many enforcers, but the blood on that stone we found in the graveyard, at the scene of... He pauses, apprehension clouding the way he looks at me. His next words are glum and as dead as his demeanour. Of Hunter Lane's death. He's testing the waters if the way he holds my stare is anything to go by, waiting to see just how clued in I am. I know about him, Finn. I spoke to Harry just now. He might be a vampire, but the look that crosses his face momentarily isn't exactly subtle. He casts his eyes away from me, the frown that settled at his brow softening around the edges. He licks one of his fangs, thinking with a forlornness that suits him a little too well. Brooding. What is it with Gideon Emery playing broody characters? Oh, Fenris. I see. And how did that go? I shrug because I can't really offer him anything else. I feel deflated and defeated. Not great. He's in mourning, and I don't think he's in the right mind to be making decisions. Finn purses his lips, contemplating my statement.
That's a bold way to speak of your Lieutenant General, but I don't doubt your instincts. I've lost loved ones, and it's never easy. The mind needs time to heal after such trauma, and all Harry is doing is delaying his grief.
Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that. Everyone grieves differently, and just this year, I had 2 losses. It doesn't feel right to compare them. On Valentine's Day, my grandmother passed away because she had a wonderful sense of dramatic timing, and on September 10th, my cat passed away because he almost had a wonderful sense of dramatic timing, and it doesn't feel right to compare the death of a human to the death of a pet. So that's not what I'm trying to get at, but 2021 hasn't been the happiest of years for me, and I kind of grieve like Harry grieves. I don't grieve in the moment, because sometimes that isn't what you can do, because other people need to grieve, therefore someone has to be strong for them. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm very good at kind of keeping it together, and I guess the best way to put it would be to say I grieve at appropriate times. So, I mean, technically speaking, he's right. Harry is delaying his grief. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, though, as long as he processes the grief. Eventually, like right now, things are so dire that for him to fall apart would be rather selfish. He has to keep things together so that other people can grieve, and then later on, when they're feeling better, Harry can have his moment. That's what I did. And so I disagree that delaying your grief is inherently bad, as long as you are dealing with those emotions eventually. I hope that made sense. Eventually, he throws me a half-hearted smile, but I sense it's something pitiful rather than friendly. I suspect my frustration with my current predicament is glaringly obvious without him having to read my thoughts.
I'm Sorry you've been kept so in the dark. I can sense that you're frustrated, and I don't blame you. As much as I may not agree with certain information being withheld, it truly is for your safety.
Does that mean there's more that we don't know? Oof. It's funny because everyone keeps saying such things, but it certainly doesn't feel like anything other than sheer avoidance. He removes a hand from his pocket, running long fingers through his hair with a knowing exhale. Yes, well, I cannot excuse anyone else's behaviour, but I can apologise for my own. Come by the catacombs when you get the chance. I have some things we can discuss that may help. Though spending some time underground in a tomb sounds less than appealing, Finn doesn't look like the kind of man who lives in squalor. Plus, any information is valued, and Finn has lived here long enough to know the ins and outs of this strange little town. Thank you. I'll take you up on that as soon as I can. He tips his head, encouraging me to follow him towards the wolf, I assume. Come on, I'll walk you home. Aw, what a gentleman. I am eager to get inside, and with a few strides I catch up to him, falling in step. I don't require an escort, you know. Everyone seems so set on ensuring I'm safe, but you all seem to be forgetting I was brought here to save the day. Supposedly. He purses his lips in an obvious attempt to stop himself from laughing, and I watch the bob of his throat as he swallows the noise.
I'm aware that you require no assistance, but think about the hunters that were killed. They were of your caliber, your rank. The best of the best, as the enforcers love to say. The thought of you ending up like them is not a pleasant one.
Aww. He has a point, I suppose. Very well, but no coddling. Understand? Yes, General. He laughs again when he catches the sight of the dramatic roll of my eyes, sidestepping with startling grace to avoid the elbow that I launch towards his ribcage. We walk quietly through the streets, the cobblestones glistening with frost. The moon is full and hangs low in the sky, as it always seems to here in Lunaris, and Finn exhales sharply to break the silence. I glance at him, too tired to ask him any of the hundreds of questions that run through my mind. I think he knows, somehow, because he also seems to have something on the tip of his tongue. We stop outside the wolf, the lantern that hangs above the door dark thanks to the late hour. I glance up at the now familiar sign, a scrappy-looking white wolf howling at a full moon, and I laugh. Finn leans against the mismatched bricks and stares at me quite intently, his eyes unnervingly bright in the growing darkness. What's funny? You're all masters at being painfully cryptic, and yet I still feel at home. But I shouldn't trust a single one of you, should I? He turns, checking we're alone again before he leans a little closer, his voice low.
That's for you to decide. So, tell me, Hunter, what does that tricky little gut of yours tell you about all of this? About us? What do you feel?
Thirsty. Endlessly thirsty. Like it's time for me to go. Like we should talk. Like I need a drink. I'm very tempted by like I need a drink, but I'm gonna go for the flirt. Endless flirting all the time, always, now and forever. I find myself getting lost in molten gold, watching him watch me. A witty response turns to ash upon my tongue. I try to search his face for a clue about what he seeks, but I come up short. I feel that I should be doing anything other than talking to strange vampires in the snow at this early hour. And yet, here you are. I sigh, joining him in leaning against the wall, my breath turning to mist against the cold air. Here I am. I wish I knew what it was about him that draws me in, besides the obvious. By all accounts, I should be overly cautious around such a creature, but Finn makes me feel more at ease than I thought possible. And I need that tonight more than ever. I want to get to know him, to understand why my heart pounds so feverishly whenever he's near. I should head inside. My words sound dull, and I know I don't mean them. I'm looking for a reason to stay right here, anchored in this spot. You sound positively enthused. I shrug, sparing the old door of the tavern a glance. The sheets are scratchy. I'm just psyching myself up. That's fair. After a very brief pause, he quickly steals his gaze. He reaches out and runs a cool, iron finger along the curve of my cheekbone. The etchings flicker in the darkness.
You are quite lovely, you know.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Oof. Oof. Calm. You know, I'ma have a drink. Maybe that will deal with my thirstiness. Come on. Gideon Emery sounds so nice. Jesus, he's got such a nice voice. Oh shit, oh god. Dropping my lid. He sounds so lovely, he's made me clumsy. Oh god, no. Okie doke. I cannot resist the impulse to tip my head in blatant invitation, the way wolves show submission, baring the column of my throat to a man that could rip it out in the blink of an eye. His cool digit stops over the place where my pulse thrums furiously, and I no longer care that he can hear, that he knows what he's doing to me. He smells strangely like a dying summer, though I suspect his memories of sunshine are long dead.
Sweet dreams, fair hunter. I daren't keep you from your rest much longer.
Why, though? My traitorous body shivers under his touch, and I mourn the loss of it when he finally pulls away. He quickly stuffs his hands back into his coat pockets, as if the temptation would be too much if he didn't. I take a deep breath and try to gather my wits. I can't seem to find it in me to mind. He smiles at that, and I sense reluctance as he pushes away from the wall, ready to depart.
Ah, alas, you have a town to save. Plus, the night is still young for a creature like myself.
I sigh, staying closer than is probably necessary, craving contact of any kind as I watch his grin grow wider. Right, I really should head inside though, I suppose.
A pleasure as always. And remember, we've got your back. Should we find anything of interest overnight, I'll come running. Daylight permitting, of course. Good night, Hunter.
Good night to you too, Finn. I return his smile, pushing the heavy door to the wolf open and praying it doesn't creak and wake the other residents. Good night, Finn. I watch him go before I close the door, only the light of the moon guiding his way as he disappears into the darkness. I finally settle upon the hard mattress, the cheap sheets harsh against my skin as I attempt to get comfortable. Light from the low-hanging moon pours into my room. I've scrubbed myself clean of any traces of grime from the hunt, and I can't help but feel irritated from the sheer lack of progress I've made so far. I've come to the conclusion that there are too many secret keepers in this town, and I refuse to feel defeated, or to let it continue. Overwhelmed by today's events, I find myself falling into a swift and dreamless sleep. Reality settles over me when I wake. A thick smog that almost suffocates me as I reluctantly drag myself from the almost comfort of my bed. I haven't had anywhere near enough a rest, but I must relent. I gather the energy to dress and head downstairs to face whatever obstacles are hastily and inevitably shoved in my way. As my eyes take in the bleary sight of the empty tavern, the hideous sound of the scraping of wood against stone assaults my ears. In a corner of the room, Alcar stumbles to his feet, the chair he's been sitting on almost toppling over. He catches it and sets it right, then grimaces briefly before stalking over to me. It's easy to see the hunch of his shoulders and the stiffness of his posture. For a moment, I wonder if he's hurt somehow. But as he comes closer, it seems more likely he's only... Is he drunk? Okay, it's not drunk. He's not high, or hammered, or anything, okay. Wary, perhaps? Not unusual, but with the commotion last night, it still puts me ill at ease. I don't need supernatural senses to know that this is going to be another pebble on the mountain of mysteries. He looks a mess. What has he been doing? Rolling around on the forest floor?
Hunter, I need to speak with you.
Oh, and he has a fancy new hood, okay. He doesn't sound like the aloof, cocky half-lycan I've come to know. He speaks forcefully, but there's a tremor in his voice that's hard to miss. What's wrong? Oh. I do believe the purple thing he was holding, I think that's a hunter sash. Oh dear. The frown deepens. Instead of explaining himself, Alcar holds out his hand and uncurls his fingers, revealing a crumpled ball of fabric. For a moment, I stare at him and the thing he's holding without comprehension. Alcar stares back, his expression telling me he thinks I'm an idiot for not getting it. But then I realise the distinctive purple under the dirt and the dried, crusted blood, and my stomach drops. A hunter's sash. Alcar is holding a hunter's sash in his hands. Or what's left of it. The thing is in a sorry state, its original colour almost indistinguishable under the grime. Carefully, I reach out to take it from him for a closer inspection. He looks down.
It doesn't belong to the hunter that was killed last night. It doesn't belong to any of them. It's not right. The smell.
Oh dear. That. Ugh. What I'm kind of thinking that... If hunters had gone missing, not murdered, just missing, I'm sure we would have been told about it. Again, unless Harry is the twist villain, he's the lieutenant general. He could cover up hunters going missing. You know, he could just say, "Oh, they've been transferred to this town. Don't look into it." Of course, that I'm either thinking, okay, hunters are going missing, or we don't know how isolated Lunaris is. There could be another nearby town with its own, hunter headquarters. And maybe this sash is from that town. Maybe I am kind of grasping at straws there, but either way, it's concerning. I stare at him in disbelief, shaking my head as I feel the gritty fabric between my fingers. Then who does it belong to? Alcar shrugs half-heartedly. In the tavern's uncertain light, his face is drawn and his eyes are sunken. Exhausted, I realise. But his tail still flicks back and forth. In impatience or agitation? It's hard to tell with him. All I know is that Alcar is telling the truth, if for no other reason than because he's too worn out for deception. I tried, but I couldn't tell. I searched all night with Finn's clan, but we came up short. He looks over his shoulder, checking to ensure we don't have company.
I have to be careful. I can't be seen with such things. They'll...
A sharp exhale and he admits defeat. Shoulders drooping, ears flat against his head. There's as much bitter resentment in his voice as there is sulk.
They'll make me pay for my generosity with my own blood. Again.
The certainty with which he says it makes my stomach drop almost as much as his grim resignation. Can we protect him? Can we? I was going to say we're just some random, and no, we got invited here personally by the Lieutenant General. We're clearly a hunter of some skill. However, we are a stranger in this town. Like, the other hunters clearly don't trust us, given the fact that, oh, she was stood near a vampire, so let's glare at her. Like, they clearly see us as an outsider. So I don't know if we can protect Alcar, but fuck it, we're gonna say we can. I raise an eyebrow at him, even as I very carefully pocket the piece of evidence. I haven't forgotten the brief conversation with Finn in the graveyard about the strange-smelling blood. This feels like a vague but worthwhile puzzle piece. And despite himself, Alcar delivered it to me. Me, a stranger, and a hunter at that. Probably precisely because I'm a stranger. Fuck knows he probably doesn't trust any of my colleagues in this town. Still, it's got me touched. Don't worry, Alcar. I won't mention you. And even if they do try to give you trouble for it, they'll have to get through me first. Alcar's jaw drops. He stares at me like I've just said something outlandish before the moment passes, and he takes a step back, a bark of a laugh bubbling out of him. Okay, so he's just gonna laugh, okay. Oh, that's rich. I glare at him, and he grins right back with not an ounce of humility. Richer than you, that's for sure. What are you, 12? Right on your level then, right? The grin widens, his canines bared, sharp and large, and in genuine amusement. Alcar surveys me for a moment with his arms still crossed, but there is something else in his gaze now. After a moment, he laughs again, but averts his eyes. I don't miss that. Nor do I miss the blush. Oh! He looks so grumpy as well. He's just like, curse my cheeks for betraying me. Oh. Nor the fact that he can't seem to stop grinning.
You're a fucking riot, Hunter.
Damn straight I am. Seems your type. He rolls his eyes, looking none too upset. He leans closer suddenly, lowering his voice despite the empty tavern.
I don't know how much or how little you've decided to trust the Pomps in that workplace of yours. And I said all that shit about not trusting anyone. But just listen to me this once. Take that to Ezra, not your superior.
By our superior, are you talking about Harry or August? I still don't trust Harry. I'm inclined to trust August. Oh, but then again, August and Harry... August definitely seems to have, maybe like hero worship. Kind of a little bit. August definitely seems to hold Harry in very high regard. So there is a chance that August would just go straight to Harry with this evidence. Oh no, I don't want to keep secrets from August. I like them. You know what? I am just about out of time for this episode, so we are going to leave off right here. In the next episode, what will Camille say? Who will she choose to trust? But until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. I've been Callista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.